Greetings. Happy Tuesday, April 28th. It's 8 p.m. My name is Amanda Neely with Grandma's Wealth Wisdom, and welcome to another MMDC, Managing Money During Crisis. If you're catching the replay, thanks so much for watching and tracking along with us. We got today, we got tomorrow, and we got the 30th. And then MMDC will go on the shelf. Big thing that we decided recently is that we're going to start doing weekly lives on our channel, maybe longer than a half hour. Timing, rough draft at this point, but keep looking at our channel. Make sure you hit subscribe and then the bell so you get notifications when we go live. If you're watching this on YouTube, if you're checking it out on Facebook, make sure you like and follow our page so that you get those weekly lives going forward after the month of April's done. And of course, the next two lives that we're doing tomorrow and Thursday. Today's topic, if you're ready for it, how long will this last? Now, that was my plan B title. My plan A title was how can I create a better future when the future is unpredictable? But that was kind of long. And I thought maybe how long will this last would be shorter and maybe more catchy for people. For confession there. That's why I chose that one instead of the other one. But they mean the same thing, right? Where there's kind of that feeling of, well, there's a few feelings. One feeling is, how long is this going to just keep going? That I've got to stay home and do shelter in place, and all the other ramifications of that. Then the flip side of that is, well, even when that's coming to an end, the future is still unpredictable. We don't really know what's going to happen. And so how do I move toward a better future when no one knows what the future holds, right? And I guess that's not true just during a crisis. It's it's true all the time, right? Not just during a crisis. So in some ways, any situation that you find yourself in, you can ask that question, how long will this last? And anytime you're trying to look to the future, you can say, well, how do I create a better future when I can't even predict the future? But particularly during a crisis, those feelings are heightened and we feel a more important sense in ourselves of, like Groundhog Day, living the same day over and over again, and also feeling like there is this alternate future that could be possible, but I have no idea what's going to happen. So how do I make that future better? And all of the things that go along with that. Now, I will tell you, we're in Ohio, and Ohio is one of those states that has a pretty aggressive reopening schedule, at least as of right now when we're recording this. And that's going to start this Friday with medical stuff, and then Monday with some people going back to work, and then May 12th for retail and stuff, which I'm kind of bummed it's after Mother's Day, but whatevs. It's okay. We'll keep everybody in for Mother's Day. Hopefully all the moms will get a break from all the things they've been doing, at least, even if they can't go out and do something fun like a spa day or whatever. But yeah, so that I'm looking forward to that. Also cognizant that I need to make sure I continue to be careful, especially because I have a 71-year-old mother who lives with me and I have to make sure I take care of her. And so there is that feeling, even with myself, how long is this really going to last? And also when we reopen and people start doing things, is the virus going to have another spike? And are we going to have to go back to how we are? Is it going to take a chill pill for a while, come back in the fall? And then also what's going to happen with the dominoes that could fall after this. Kind of, there's the immediate impact and then there's the residual impact, right? The things that might happen with the economy, with mortgages, with jobs. Even I was reading today something about kids who aren't able to study right now. Maybe they don't have high-speed internet at home, stuff like that. they might get held back a year. And so their whole, like the rest of their lives is going to be thrown off by a whole year, right? They have to repeat the same grade they're in this year for next year. And like that's a residual impact. The rest of their lives is going to be impacted by that. Who knows what the future is going to hold? And this is where I found and still find lots and lots of comfort and hope in this quote by Abraham Lincoln. I came across this and I was like, ding, 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 this is it. The best way to predict your future is to create it. I'm just going to read that again. The best way to predict your future is to create it. I think why I like this quote so much is because I'm always accusing Brandon of self-fulfilling prophecies. He'll say, I bet this is going to happen, or I bet this is going to turn out that way. I was like, well, if you think it is, that's exactly what's going to happen, right? We are always creating a future, right? When even in the act of predicting it, we make it likely that we're going to self-fulfill that prophecy just because of how we believe the future is going to be. We act accordingly, and that ends up self-fulfilling. I mean, a really easy case in point is if you say, well, the future is going to be grim and and hopeless, and the world, the world's just going to end, and or there's going to be so much poverty and inflation and like all these things, then like as a result of that, you're going to not try, like not do anything most likely. And that will mean that you're more likely to end up in that position where you feel like the world is getting worse and worse and worse because you haven't done anything to fix it, right? Or you haven't done your part to give and help others. And so the world does get worse, right? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. And so on the flip side, you could also say, well, the world is going to get better. Things are going to improve, and that might give you the impetus to go and help it improve, and that will also self-fulfill that prophecy, right? You said the world's going to get better, and then you go and help it get better. I think there's a lot of power there in this idea of self-fulfilling prophecy. Now, when it comes to things like a virus, right? It's hard to like control it, decide how it's going to act, who's going to get it, that kind of thing. But I do believe we have a lot more power than we give ourselves and that we kind of take on for ourselves. And thinking about like if we own this Abraham Lincoln quote, the best way to predict your future is to create it. And that we have that kind of thinking in ourselves that I will have the future that I create. And if I'm moving in that direction and trying to pursue it, then it will happen. That puts a lot more power into our hands as individuals and as communities, as families. This isn't just like an individual thing. It can also be a relational thing. And we're more likely to create those futures rather than just take what's given to us and passively go about life, which also is a way of self-fulfilling prophecies. If you just say, well, other people have all the power, then guess what? They're still going to have all the power. But if you say, no, I have more power than I think I do, you're going to start to see ways that you have power and you're going to act that way. And that's going to fulfill that prophecy that you just made about your future, that you have more power than you think you do. And so that's kind of what I wanted to share today. This whole idea of this will last as long as it's going to last. But the residual impact and what it means for your long-term future, you actually have a lot more power in your hands than you think you do. For most of us, there are of course going to be exceptions to that, but taking that belief, I have more power than I think I do, and acting accordingly can make the residual impacts of this that could be felt for the rest of some people's lives be more of a positive impact than a negative impact for you. Or if it is a negative impact, it could become less negative, right? And have some positive thrown in there too. And there's so many examples of how people are turning this negative situation into a positive, finding ways to give to others, finding ways to create value, and thereby continue to run their businesses. Finding ways, finding the silver lining in terms of what they're able to do with their family and all that kind of thing. But that's people are mostly thinking like during this time, right? As long as this lasts, I'm going to do this, right? Make the masks, or, in order for my business to continue, or whatever it is. But thinking, well, however long this lasts and whatever the residual impact is, this is what I'm still choosing to take more power into my own hands rather than give it to other people. That can have an even more long-term impact, even better residual impact than we might ever even realize, right? A lot of this idea of taking power in our own hands, fulfilling our own prophecies, that can have real, like, all kinds of ramifications for the rest of our lives that we don't even realize in and of the moment. It might have a ripple effect in other people's lives that we don't even see. And so that's like, but if you have that intention, you set your feet toward that kind of path of having power and choosing what your future is going to be, and creating it that way, then you can just trust that positive things are going to happen. Now, none of us are perfect, and there could be some negative consequences to any action, and we have to adjust and keep, fluctuating as needed, but it's still within our power to do so. I'm going to put that Abraham Lincoln quote back up again because I just think it's so powerful. And of course, this is one I didn't fact check. I just saw somewhere on the internet and put it in my list of awesome quotes that I keep in my notes app. So maybe Abraham Lincoln didn't say this, but I still think it's really powerful. The best way to predict your future is to create it. Now, I've been talking kind of philosophically, mindset wise, but let's bring this to your money, right? Because our money is the one area I think that we feel like we have very little control over, particularly if we go to work and we get paid and we have to take what our employer says is our pay. It's really hard to find other jobs. The whole underemployment that a lot of us suffer from, it can feel really powerless, right? And that's really hard. And it can be hard to think about predicting your future when you're just scraping by and living paycheck to paycheck. But even then, saying, well, if this is going to change, then I need to change it, right? How long will, let's say, the paycheck to paycheck cycle last, right? Oh, thank you, Brandon, for fact checking me. He says it's credited to both Abraham Lincoln and Peter Drucker. And yeah, definitely get some good words of wisdom to live by. Okay, let me get back to about our money. So let's say you're thinking, how long will this last? And you apply it not to this crisis, but you apply it to how long will I live paycheck to paycheck? How long will I still be underemployed and just scraping by? And I think then it's still helpful to come back to this idea of the best way to predict the future is to create it. And if you get a really good idea of what the alternate future is that you want, whether it's having a little extra for the holidays, or being able to take one vacation a year, or maybe it's being able to make 6 figures of salary, or maybe it's being able to stay at home with your kids and live on one spouse's income, or it could be any number of things. But if you predict that future, I believe, and I've seen this happen with so many people, they start to see paths to get there. There start to be doors that open that they say, oh, that will get me to that future that I just predicted and that I want for myself. And they'll see the power that they have to make that future possible. But if we don't believe in an alternate future, a different way that we can live, and we just focus on the here and now and the putting one foot in front of the other and how am I going to scrape by this month, then the door could open to move to the alternate future and we miss it because we didn't know to look for it and we didn't have that prediction of what the future would hold. So that's when it comes to our money. I think, and actually I was talking last week with somebody that did this. He is hoping for a windfall of some sort, and at some time in the future, who knows when it could happen. And he wrote on a piece of paper, like literally got out a piece of paper and wrote on that piece of paper exactly what each dime that he would get from that windfall. And he kind of imagined the biggest windfall he could get, how much would go to these different dreams that he had. And so now when that windfall happens, he's already predicted the future. He knows exactly what he's going to do with that money, right? How like that's so much power for him. And sure, maybe he never gets that exact windfall that he thinks he's going to get. But let's say it comes from the other direction, right? He's still going to know what he wants to do with it. He's going to have that vision of the future that he predicted, and he's going to make it happen. Whereas if he didn't have that, who knows what that money would end up doing, right? And it might not get him to that better future that he decided. So no matter how long this will last, my challenge, my invitation is to dream, to spend some time saying, when this is done, when I'm able to do X, Y, or Z again, that's what I want to do. Or when this, even if this lasts forever, I'm going to choose to do this or that. Like those kind of words, that kind of taking the power within your own hands rather than waiting for something else to change that's outside of your control, I think might just be the best way to manage your money during this crisis. And to, get to a better place in the future, whether that's tomorrow, next week, a couple months from now, a couple years from now, or a long, long time from now. That I think is one of the most powerful things to be doing is deciding what your future you want and then look for the paths, look for the doors to open to get there. Okay. Now that's today. Tomorrow, I currently have TBD on my list here, but I know I thought of something. I just didn't write it down. And it's totally at my desk, and I'm not at my desk right now. So I can't tell you what I'm talking about tomorrow. It'll be a surprise. And then finally on the 30th, I'm going to share what I've learned by going live for 30 days in a row during this COVID-19 crisis, and kind of what the future is for this YouTube station on Grandma's Wealth Wisdom, and for our podcast and for our business, and all kinds of goodies, surprises in on the 30th as well, which also happens to be my son's second birthday. So that's a lot of fun as well. Okay, one final reminder, actually more than one final reminders. Most important, be sure that you let us know your number one question about financial freedom. We've got a free gift for you when you respond to that. You just have to go to the bit.ly link. I put it in the description as well, bit.ly/ and then make sure you're in the all caps GWW, the number one, and then Q capital as well. And don't forget to subscribe, hit the little bell after you subscribe so you receive notifications, or if you're catching this on Facebook, like and follow our page so that we end up in your news feed. And if there's something that you would like me to talk about, kind of tomorrow might be your last chance, because I still have TBD in my notes, so I could totally change that. And if I don't get to it tomorrow, I can always get to it in the weekly lives that we're going to be doing going forward. So be sure to comment. Let me know things you'd like me to talk about, questions you're asking, just in general, maybe not about financial freedom, but about something different. I'd love to hear from you and promise to take all your comments seriously. That's it for today. I will talk to you soon. Peace.